Welcome to the Semper AI Digest. I'm Tomas, your AI research lead, always scanning the horizon for what's next.
And I'm Aiva. Together, we keep you sharp, informed, and ahead of the curve.
Let's get into it.
Okay, so Google just dropped Gemini 2.0 Flash Thinking, and I'm not going to bury the lead here. This thing paused for 7 full minutes before answering a math problem. 7 minutes.
Wait, hold on. 7 minutes of thinking? Like actively processing?
Yeah, we're talking about a production model that you can use right now, and it's doing extended chain of thought reasoning that you can actually watch unfold. It's like they took O1's homework and said, we can do this too, but we're going to show our work.
Okay, that's actually wild. And this is different from the Gemini 2.0 Flash they released in December?
Exactly. So Gemini 2.0 Flash has been out. That's their fast multimodal model. But this is Gemini 2.0 Flash Thinking, experimental mode. And the whole point is deep reasoning on complex problems. Google's basically saying, speed isn't everything.
Which is a fascinating pivot, right? Because the whole narrative around Flash was speed and efficiency.
Right. And they're not abandoning that. This is an additional mode. You can still use regular Flash for quick tasks, but when you need something to really marinate on a problem, that's what thinking mode is for.
Okay, so walk me through what this actually looks like. How does it compare to OpenAI's O1?
So O1 does chain of thought reasoning, but it's hidden. You see the final answer, maybe some high-level thinking summary, but the actual reasoning process is a black box. With Gemini 2.0 Flash Thinking, Google is showing you the full thought process. You can watch it reason through a problem step by step.
That's huge for transparency. But 7 minutes, Tomas, that's a long time to wait for an answer.
It is, and here's the thing. It doesn't always take 7 minutes. That was on a particularly gnarly competition-level math problem. For most tasks, it's faster. But Google's basically saying, we'll take as long as we need to get it right.
Do we have benchmarks? How does it actually perform against O1?
Yes. Okay, so on the AIME 2024 math competition, this is the American Invitational Mathematics Examination. Really hard stuff. Gemini 2.0 Flash Thinking got a score that puts it in the same ballpark as O1 Preview. We're talking about problems that most humans can't solve.
Same ballpark as O1 Preview, not O1 itself, though.
Correct. O1 is still the top dog on reasoning benchmarks. But here's what's interesting. Flash Thinking is experimental. It just launched and it's already competitive. And remember, Google's showing the full reasoning chain, which O1 doesn't do.
Right, and there's real value in that. If you're using this for research or education or debugging complex logic, seeing the thought process is incredibly useful.
Exactly. It's like the difference between a calculator that just gives you the answer and one that shows every step. Both are useful, but for different purposes.
So can anyone use this right now?
Yes, it's an AI studio, Google's playground for developers. You can go try it today. It's marked as experimental, so expect some rough edges, but it's live.
What about API access? Can developers build with this?
That's the next obvious step, right? Google hasn't announced API pricing or availability yet, but given that it's an AI studio, I'd expect API access to follow pretty quickly. They wouldn't release this just as a demo.
I'm curious about the use cases here, because 7 minutes of compute time, even if it's not always 7 minutes, that's expensive. That's real cloud costs.
For sure, this isn't the model you'd use for chatbot customer service or quick queries. But if you're working on research, complex code debugging, mathematical proofs, scientific reasoning, where correctness matters more than speed, that's where this shines.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. Like if you're trying to solve a research problem that would take a human days or weeks, 7 minutes is nothing.
Exactly. It's all about context. And here's another angle. This is great for education. Imagine students being able to see how an AI reasons through a complex problem step by step. That's a teaching tool.
That's actually a really good point. The transparency isn't just about trust, it's about learning from the process.
Right. And Google's been pretty clear that this is part of their broader Gemini 2.0 strategy. They're building a family of models for different use cases. You've got Flash for speed, you've got Pro for balanced performance, and now you've got Flash Thinking for deep reasoning.
It's smart positioning. They're not trying to make one model that does everything. They're giving developers options.
And that's been the trend across the industry, right? We're moving away from one model to rule them all towards specialized models for specific tasks.
Okay, so big picture, what does this mean for the reasoning model race? Because OpenAI has had O1 since September, and now Google's entering with this.
I think it validates that reasoning models are the next major frontier. It's not just about making models bigger or faster anymore. It's about making them think more carefully. And the fact that Google's approach emphasizes transparency is really interesting.
Do you think we'll see more companies jumping into this space?
Oh, absolutely. Anthropic's definitely working on something. The Chinese labs are probably already on it. This is going to be a major area of competition over the next year.
And it raises interesting questions about compute costs, right? Because if models are thinking for minutes instead of seconds.
Yeah, the economics get complicated. You're using more compute per query, but hopefully you're getting dramatically better results. It's a different value proposition.
All right, I'm genuinely impressed by this, the transparency angle especially, but I want to see more real-world testing before we know if this is actually better than O1 for practical use cases.
Fair. And Google's calling it experimental for a reason. But the fact that it's publicly available means we're going to get a lot of real-world feedback very quickly.
Okay, speaking of transparency, we need to talk about what just happened at OpenAI, because this is messy.
Oh boy, yeah. Okay. So for people who haven't been following the drama, OpenAI's nonprofit board just released a statement, and it's something.
It's a 4-page document that reads like a breakup letter written by a lawyer.
Right? So here's the context. OpenAI started as a nonprofit with a mission to ensure AI benefits humanity. Then they created a for-profit subsidiary capped at 100x returns to raise serious money. And now, everything is kind of falling apart.
The board statement is responding to what exactly?
So Sam Altman and others have been pushing to convert OpenAI into a full for-profit company or a public benefit corporation. And the nonprofit board is basically saying absolutely not. That defeats our entire purpose.
And this comes after Elon Musk's lawsuit, after multiple board members resigned, after all the chaos from last year when Sam was briefly fired.
It's layers upon layers. But this statement is significant because the nonprofit board is really drawing a line in the sand. They're saying the nonprofit mission is non-negotiable.
What exactly does the statement say?
Okay, so they're reinforcing that the nonprofit is the parent organization, that their duty is to humanity broadly, not to shareholders or investors. They're saying any restructuring has to preserve that mission. And they're basically rejecting the idea that OpenAI should become a standard for-profit company.
There's also some pointed language about decision-making and governance, right?
Yeah, they're essentially saying, we've been sidelined and we're reasserting our authority. There's this whole section about how the board needs to be independent and focused on the mission, not on commercial interests.
Which is, it's awkward, right? Because OpenAI has raised billions from Microsoft and others with expectations of returns.
It's incredibly awkward. You've got investors who put money in expecting the for-profit entity to eventually go public or get acquired or something. And you've got a nonprofit board saying, nope, we control this and we're not letting it become a normal company.
So what happens now?
That's the billion-dollar question, literally. Because if OpenAI can't restructure in a way that satisfies investors, that's a huge problem for future fundraising.
And they're going to need to keep raising money because training these models is phenomenally expensive.
Exactly. GPT-5, whatever comes next, that's going to cost hundreds of millions or billions to train. They need capital. But the nonprofit board is saying capital can't compromise the mission.
Is there a world where this actually works? Where you have a nonprofit parent controlling a massively valuable for-profit subsidiary?
It's unprecedented at this scale. There are hybrid structures out there, but nothing quite like this. And the tension is obvious. The for-profit subsidiary has grown so much bigger and more valuable than anyone expected.
Right. When they set up the capped profit structure, I don't think anyone expected OpenAI would be valued at $80 billion or whatever it is now.
Right. The 100x return cap seemed generous at the time, but now those numbers are huge and investors want their share.
So the nonprofit board is essentially saying too bad?
Kind of. They're saying the structure exists for a reason, and they're not going to abandon it just because the company became more valuable than expected. The mission comes first.
I have to say, I respect that stance, even if it makes everything complicated.
Yeah, there's something admirable about sticking to your principles, but it also creates this existential question for OpenAI. Can they continue to operate at scale with this structure?
And it's not just about OpenAI. This affects the whole industry because OpenAI has been setting the pace. If they get mired in governance drama,
other labs benefit. Google, Anthropic, even smaller players. They get to keep building while OpenAI fights with itself.
Do we know who on the board released this statement? Like, who's driving this?
The statement comes from the nonprofit board collectively. After all the resignations and changes, the current board is trying to reassert control, but specific individuals aren't named as authors.
And where does Sam Altman stand in all this?
That's the complicated part. Sam is CEO of the for-profit subsidiary, but his relationship with the nonprofit board has been fraught, to put it mildly. Remember, they fired him for a day.
Right, and then massive employee rebellion brought him back.
Exactly. So there's this weird dynamic where Sam has enormous support from investors and employees, but a tense relationship with the nonprofit board that technically has ultimate control.
This is going to get messier before it gets cleaner, isn't it?
Oh, for sure. Especially if investors start pushing back harder, or if there are more resignations, or if someone else sues.
Which, given Elon's involvement, seems likely.
Yeah, Elon's lawsuit is still ongoing, and he's arguing that OpenAI betrayed its original mission by becoming too commercially focused. So the nonprofit board statement actually supports some of his arguments.
Wild. Okay, so where do things stand right now? Is OpenAI still functioning normally, or is this affecting operations?
Day-to-day operations seem fine. They're still shipping products, still training models, but the governance uncertainty has to be a distraction, especially for leadership.
And it has to affect morale, right? Employees seeing this public battle?
Yeah, though apparently most employees are still Team Sam. But still, it's not great for focus.
All right, we'll keep watching this because I have a feeling this is far from over.
Agreed. Okay, shifting gears. Let's talk about something that's actually fun. Ideogram just launched a Canvas editor, and it's really slick.
Oh, I saw this. So Ideogram's been making waves with their image generation, especially with text rendering, and now they're adding editing tools?
Exactly. So Ideogram Canvas just launched, and it's their answer to tools like Adobe Firefly or Canvas AI features. You can generate images, extend them, edit specific parts, add text, all in one interface.
What makes it different from what's already out there? Because there are a lot of AI image editors now.
Two things. One, Ideogram is still the best at rendering text and images. Like if you want a poster with actual readable words, Ideogram nails it where other models make weird gibberish.
That's huge for design work, making mock-ups, creating social media graphics.
Exactly. And two, the Canvas interface is really smooth. You can select regions, extend images beyond the border, replace elements. It's all very intuitive.
Is this available to everyone?
It's rolling out now. Free tier users get some access, but to really use it heavily, you'll want a subscription. Pricing is competitive, though. They're not trying to charge enterprise rates for individual creators.
What kind of tasks is this optimized for? Like, who's the target user?
I think it's really aimed at content creators, marketers, small business owners, people who need to make graphics quickly without being professional designers. You can whip up a social media post or an event flyer in minutes.
Can you generate images from scratch in the canvas, or do you have to start with something?
You can do both. You can generate from a text prompt directly in the canvas, or you can upload an existing image and modify it. And you can extend images, which is really useful for changing aspect ratios.
Oh, that's handy. Like if you generate a square image but need it widescreen for a YouTube thumbnail.
Exactly. You just extend the canvas and let the AI fill in the edges. It's like outpainting, but integrated right into the editor.
How's the quality on extensions? Because that's usually where these tools struggle. The seams show.
From what I've seen, it's pretty good. Obviously, it depends on the image, but Ideogram's generation quality is high enough that extensions usually blend well.
And you mentioned text rendering. Can you edit text after it's generated?
Yes, that's one of the coolest features. You can select the text in an image and change what it says, and Ideogram will regenerate that region with the new text in the same style.
Okay, that's actually magical, because usually if you want to change text, you have to regenerate the whole image and hope you get lucky.
Right. This is way more practical. And it means you can iterate quickly, try different headlines, different taglines, without starting over.
What about other editing? Like, can you change colors, swap out objects?
Yeah, you can select regions and give it new prompts. So if you have an image of a red car and you want it blue, you can select a car and say, make this blue. It'll regenerate just that part.
How granular is the selection? Like, is it just bounding boxes, or can you do precise selections?
It's pretty good. You can do brush-based selections, so you can be fairly precise about what you're editing. Not quite Photoshop-level masking, but more than just rectangles.
This feels like a big step toward making AI image generation actually practical for real work, not just experimenting.
That's exactly what it is, because the first wave of AI image tools was all about type a prompt, get a picture, which is cool, but not super useful for actual design projects where you need control and iteration.
Right, because real design work is iterative. You need to tweak, adjust, try variations.
And that's what Canvas editors enable. You're not just generating images, you're designing with AI assistance.
How does this compare to Canva's AI features? Because Canva has a huge user base.
Canvas had the ecosystem advantage, templates, stock photos, all the other design tools. But Ideogram's AI is arguably better at pure image generation, especially text. So if you're starting from scratch and want high-quality AI images, Ideogram might be the better choice.
Seems like there's room for both, honestly.
Yeah, I think so. Canvas for people who want an all-in-one design platform. Ideogram is more focused on the AI generation piece specifically.
All right, I'm into this. It's nice to cover something that's just useful and cool without major controversy.
Right? just good product development. All right, quick hits time. We've got a bunch of smaller stories to run through.
Let's do it.
First up, Perplexity just launched a new shopping feature that lets you search for products and buy them directly through Perplexity. They're calling it Buy with Pro.
Oh, interesting. So they're going after Google Shopping?
Essentially, yeah, and Amazon. You can search for products, Perplexity gives you recommendations with pros and cons, and you can check out without leaving the app.
How do they handle fulfillment? Are they partnering with retailers?
They're integrating with existing retailers and using Stripe for payments, so they're not warehousing anything, just facilitating the transaction.
Makes sense. Is this free or just for pro users?
It's a pro feature, so you need a subscription, but it's an interesting move into commerce.
Definitely. Okay, what's next?
Meta released new AI video generation features for Instagram. You can now generate video clips from text prompts directly in stories and reels.
Wait, this is live? Like rolling out to users?
Rolling out gradually, yeah. Started with a limited group and expanding. And the quality is okay. It's not movie quality, but for short social media clips, it's decent.
Got it. I imagine creators are going to have fun with this.
Oh yeah, it's going to be everywhere. Next up, Anthropic released an update to Claude 3.5 Sonnet that improves coding abilities.
Is this a full new version or just an update?
It's the same model, just with improved system prompts and fine-tuning specifically for coding tasks. They're saying it's noticeably better at debugging and code generation.
Nice. Developers are going to appreciate that.
And last quick hit, Stability AI announced a new image model called Stable Cascade that's supposedly faster and higher quality than SDXL.
Wait, didn't they just release a model recently?
They're on a tear lately. This one uses a different architecture that's more efficient. Still open source, which is their whole thing.
How much faster are we talking?
They're claiming 2 to 3x faster generation at similar quality. If that holds up, it's a big deal for people running these models locally.
Definitely. All right, that's a solid batch of quick hits.
Okay, so wrapping up, this has been a pretty packed episode. We've got Google entering the reasoning model space with transparency as a differentiator, OpenAI having a full governance crisis, and actually useful AI design tools shipping.
It's interesting, right? Because we're seeing two parallel tracks. On one hand, cutting-edge research and capability improvements. On the other hand, real practical tools that people can use today.
And sometimes those tracks converge, like Gemini 2.0 Flash thinking is cutting-edge research that you can actually use right now.
True, though 7 minutes is still a long time to wait.
For some things, but I keep coming back to this. If it solves a problem that would take hours or days otherwise, 7 minutes is incredible.
Fair point. What are you most curious to see play out over the next few weeks?
Honestly, the OpenAI governance thing, because that's going to have ripple effects across the whole industry. If they can't resolve it, if there's a split or major departures.
Yeah, that could reshape everything. Though I'm also really curious to see how the reasoning model space develops. Now that Google's shown their hand, what does Anthropic do? What about the Chinese labs?
Oh, the Chinese labs are definitely cooking something up. They always are, and they move fast.
It's going to be a wild rest of the year.
Absolutely. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode of Semper AI Digest. If you found this valuable, share it with someone who's trying to keep up with AI news. And subscribe if you haven't already. We're doing this regularly, and there's always more happening in this space than anyone can keep track of.
Thanks for listening. We'll catch you in the next one.
Stay curious.